Welcome back to Dire, everybody. The Do You Even Roll RPG pals who are out here palling around with the Dungeons and Dragons. I'm your DM today, Chris, here with Colton and Lily, and we are going to progress this storyline. Say it with me. Progress. This
Progress.
storyline. Yep. I don't know.
I had no idea what you were saying.
I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm just having fun with it. I'm trying to get loose.
It's all good.
You know, we have 3 players, and I think we're gonna have a good time. So, Colton, I guess you'll cast for Shelbitha, and then, Lily, would you like to have control of Katie, or would you like to share control of Katie?
Yeah, I'll share.
Okay, me and you will alternate.
Because I didn't play last time, so I'm not really sure.
We got rescued by a ship, from the dock outside of Meglio by the rebels. So we are on the rebel ship. Thank you. Okay. So last time the gang was outside of the Meglio dungeon, but we were stuck behind the castle. We fought our way through guards, and Giuseppe and the rebel ship happened to show up out of nowhere and whisk us off into the night. So the gang, that being Frederick, Lily, Shelbitha, Catherine the Great, and sleepiest Gary, now find themselves on a ship with Giuseppe, not knowing where the fuck they got a ship. So Gary's first question to Giuseppe was, where the hell did you get this ship? And the group has been listening to Giuseppe paint a very long and detailed story of Giuseppe and the rebels ambushing a run of drug smugglers who were terrorizing the neighboring village of Saint Meglio, where the people are kind and the bandits the smugglers were awful. Giuseppe then went into a very long story of brutally delivering justice in place of normal law, and the bandits and smugglers are now dead. And this is their ship. With horrified eyes, the group sits there in awe as Giuseppe whittles away at what appears to be a skull and a rose in its teeth, made of wood. You're amazed at Giuseppe's skill with whittling.
Well, Frederick is shocked that he thinks that they killed these smugglers and brutalized their bodies.
Giuseppe notices you.
Go ahead.
Shelbitha. Yeah, he notices you're all uncomfortable, and he goes, "What?"
Shelbitha sneezes really bad. She goes, "Achoo! I'm sorry. I'm just feeling really sick today."
Catherine and Gary and Lily all scoot a little bit away from Shelbitha.
She goes, "Sorry, guys. I'm gonna put a mask on." And she puts on a mask that has a little kitten face on it.
Gary says it's a really cool looking mask, and then he offers to play her a bard healing tune.
She goes, "No, I wanna know what more about this ship first."
Gary says fair point, and he stashes his loot back away. After looking over his shoulder into his pack, he turns around and notices that nobody is near Giuseppe, and anyone on deck that you guys can see keeps glancing over and looking away.
Frederick asks Giuseppe what's going on with these crewmates, or your crewmates. Why are they so shy?
And Giuseppe goes, they pay their new captain respect. I have taken over as captain of this ship. Gary notes that some look like rebels, but you took over the crew, and Giuseppe just grunts and says yeah, and then he goes back to carving the skull and says, "Bunch of wussies," and spits on the deck.
Dang. I'm surprised Lily isn't surprised by Giuseppe's change of character.
Yeah, I don't think she remembers who Giuseppe was.
Yeah,
He was such a wimp. We met him. When was that?
Before the invasion of the Meglio castle. He was the old court jester that you set on fire. And he lost his wit the last time we saw him, and he acted kind of loony, and then now he's very brutal. It appears he has multiple personalities.
I love that for him.
Yeah, would you like some? Okay.
Can I? Frederick is gonna ask Giuseppe to leave for a second so that we can talk amongst ourselves.
Giuseppe looks like he got his feelings hurt, and he pockets his knife and throws his skull to Frederick and says, "This was going to be a finished engraving, but now that you're being so rude, you can just have it before I engraved it." And he storms off. And Frederick looks at it, and it just has FRE and like the first line of D.
Frederick looks at it, and his jaw drops a little bit, and he looks at the party and goes, "What's up with that guy?"
Gary is like, "Well, he was around the crown for a while. I wonder if he's just been a little twisted." And he asked Lily if she remembers him being so mean whenever she met him as a jester when she was a sorcerer. And Lily says that she doesn't really know because she did not pay attention to him enough until he made a joke and she set him on fire.
I love setting people.
She notes that she loves setting people on fire.
Dang. Alright, Lily, you might have to set him on fire again, but better this time, okay?
Can do.
As you guys are mumbling more about what you know about Giuseppe, you hear a distant call. "Hey! Hey!" And it's getting closer. It's dark outside, so you're not really sure what you're seeing. So you look off of this where you see this sound coming from. It's off the starboard side, the right side. It's off the right side of the ship. It sounds like it's getting a little closer, but it's hard to hear over the waves.
Frederick tries to pinpoint the location of the sound.
So you approach the
Oh my
bow.
goodness.
Yeah. Oops. Did not mean to stretch you out. I'm gonna say you run up to the railing of the ship with your night vision, you grab on, and you lean out trying to look. And you can just see that it's a rowboat, and you can see that there's a person in there. So you exclaim, "A rowboat!"
I do so, and Shalvatha goes to take a look, and she's like, "Man overboard! Man overboard!" And she finds something to throw, like a rope or something.
Gary stops her before she can throw the rope, and he says, "How do we know it's a man overboard? Where did that boat come from? He's in a boat, though." And the man is getting closer and shouting, "Hey!" still.
Frederick is gonna try and help Shalvatha throw the line to him, and respond to the guy yelling with, "Hey, what do you want?"
From the rowboat, you hear, "Is that Frederick?"
Frederick changes his voice a little bit and he goes, "Who wants to know?"
And you hear over the waves, and the guy is still out of sight, but you can see that the rowboat's getting closer. And Gary shouts, "Who?" And the rowboat gets a little closer, but the man remains quiet. Lily, you approach the dock, and you think it's too, or the side of the boat, and you think it's too dang dark to see who it is. But you think you can arc a fireball over it. Would you like to arc a fireball over the boat to see if you can light the area? Okay. I'm gonna say that it's within range, and you arc one over the boat, and you guys see a fly over the boat, skim just a few feet above the man's head, and you see that it looks like a striking resemblance to Giuseppe in the boat.
Frederick
And-
goes, "Hey, that looks like Giuseppe, guys. We gotta take him in."
And Gary says, "But I thought Giuseppe was behind us." And Gary turns around and looks, and he sees that Giuseppe is just on the other side of the big boat in the center of the boat. That's not a lifeboat, but looks like a lifeboat. I don't know if that's a dinghy technically. And he is over there carving a new thing out of wood.
Frederick addresses the group as secretly as possible, and he goes, "You know, guys, I don't think that's the real Giuseppe over there. He seems pretty different than the one that I met several days ago."
This new Giuseppe in the rowboat gets close to the boat as it's moving, and he collides his rowboat with the side of our boat, trying to grab onto a rope to hold on to, but there's nothing down there, and it's just a smooth thing. So he's stuck just paddling around our boat.
Alright, Frederick looks at Shabbatha and he goes, "Alright, I need you to go distract this other Giuseppe while we bring this other Giuseppe up here to find out what he knows." So, can I get Shabbatha to move over to the fake Giuseppe?
Yeah. She approaches Giuseppe. He glances up from his carving for just a second and says, "What do you want?"
Before Shabbatha walks up to him, she tries to secretly poke her fingers down her throat so that she'll throw up in Giuseppe's lap once she gets to him.
Okay. I'm gonna say she successfully makes herself vomit on Giuseppe. He notices her moving though, so here's what we're gonna do. You do a roll for Shelbitha for athletics. And I'm going to do a saving throw for dexterity and see if I win.
We do a saving throw for dexterity?
I think so? I don't know. Wait. No, that gives even more of an advantage. I guess I don't know how saving throws work. I guess I'm just going to do a normal dexterity roll. Okay, yeah. You just go ahead and roll for strength and see if you can be real quick. You only have to beat a 3. Okay. So Giuseppe is not able to get out of the way. He is Porky the Orc in this case, by the way. So Giuseppe ends up with a bunch of vomit on his lap, and he goes, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And he throws his latest wood carving, and Shelbitha looks at it on the ground, and it's a spot on carving of Frederick.
She goes, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm just not feeling well. I must have thrown up on you by accident."
He said, "It's not okay," and then he gives Shelbitha a big hug, and he wipes the vomit back onto her, and then hugs her like a really friendly hug, but then that with it, and he says, I'm gonna go clean up now," and then he waddles off, and he pushes a worker on his way down. He's just like, he looks at him and he says, "Hey, fuck you, I don't like you." And Shelbitha watches that, and she thinks, "Wow, what a shitty captain."
Yeah, she's gotta be thinking, we gotta kill that guy.
She may be. So Shelbitha notices that instead of going to the captain's quarters, the guy disappears below the deck, and that she's confused. So anyways, flashing back to Frederick and the group, would you guys like to pull Giuseppe up? Giuseppe in the boat. There are two Giuseppes if you want.
Do we still want to put him on fire?
No, I don't. You weren't attacking him. You were just trying to light the area.
I ask everyone else what they feel. I guess we can let him up and just be prepared.
Yeah. Katie says that feels like a good plan, so she pulls out her bow and steps back away from the railing and says, "You guys should pull him up."
I think we can handle one guy.
So you guys throw a rope down to him, he grabs it, and then his boat goes floating off because he didn't bother to tie it to us.
What a dumbass.
Yeah, and then Gary says, "What a waste of a rowboat. Way to go, Giuseppe." Or not Giuseppe, he says as he squints over at the guy. He looks over him in every detail, and he says, "It looks and it smells like Giuseppe."
Yeah, but how are we gonna know it's actually him?
Giuseppe, tell us something only you would know. And Giuseppe looks around a little scared and very out of breath. You realize he's been paddling for quite a while. And he goes, I don't know. I think the last time that we were together, I was incoherent. All I can remember is every time I tried to speak a word, I would only say my name. I remember your name, and it's not Giuseppe, it's Gary." And he points to Gary and he says, "We're a part of the same name starting letter club." And you can see that he's still a little bit off of his he's a little bit crazy, but he's definitely more coherent than last time.
Then I make sure that he sees me, and Frederick, and I go, "Do you remember me? Now answer the question."
Giuseppe says, "I remember you, but your name doesn't start with a G, so I didn't bother to remember your name." And he looks at Lily and says the same thing.
How
applies.
rude.
And he says, "Wait, now I remember you." And he says, "You got me fired and set me on fire, literally."
And you still couldn't be bothered to remember my name.
He squints at you for a very long time, like 30 seconds of just silence and looking at you, and he says, "Lily." And then he turns back to Frederick and says, I'm not even going to try it with you, Mr. Tiefling.
I've tackled you once, you silly little man. How would you like to be thrown off the boat next?
Giuseppe says, the water is freaking cold, man. I don't want to go out there.
Then tell us something only you would know.
The Baron has a crown on his head that controls him.
We all know that.
And Giuseppe says, but if only I would know it, how would you know that it's true? I don't know you all that well. And he just decides that he's beat, and he goes over to the railing and sits down and says, if you want to throw me over the railing, that's fine. I don't think we're going to get anywhere because we don't know either of ourselves. I don't know you that well. You don't know me that well. At this point, I made it back to the ship. I don't even know where to begin. All I know is I was hanging out on the beach, waiting for our ambush of the smugglers. And then the next thing I know, I wake up. I'm super thirsty. The smuggler ship is gone. I don't know how many days I was out, but I was in a bush, and I woke up with a tranquilizer dart in me. And there was also a wooden, just a little, like a slab of wood with a carving of my face and a note that says, sucks to suck, be lucky to be alive. And then a picture of my face and a heart.
Wow.
We
And why is it that you're able to speak?
Giuseppe says, well, the spell's been wearing off, but I couldn't speak anything that would help go against Meglio, and at this point, we've just been trying to survive, so it's been wearing off, less effect. Uh, Also, I'm a jester. How the fuck should I know how magic works? You tell me, Lily. And then he gives a pointed stare towards her, and she just goes, that's not my type of magic. I'm fire and ice, baby. And she goes, finger guns.
Well,
Katie unleashes an arrow into the railing by Giuseppe, and she says, you're making me mad. And she notches another arrow. Giuseppe doesn't react. He looks at the arrow and he says, kill me whenever you like. I died the instant I lost my job.
well, you'd better have heart to save the residents of Meglio. Otherwise, you're not going to be much use to us. So, tell us, why is there another imposter? Another version of yourself?
Giuseppe thinks long and hard and he says, well, I may have looked like I had a good spot in the group. At the time, it was my idea to ambush these smugglers for their boat because it was the only boat available to us. It was a miracle that I could say anything besides my name by that point. Every once in a while, I would slip back into a string of Giuseppe's and I would lose all control of the group. I was just hoping it wouldn't happen while we were we were laying siege to this group of scallywagons. Shelbitha approaches the group again, and she says, I don't think he'll be back for a while, and she says that she would also like to find a change of clothes. So Giuseppe, looking at all of you, decides that maybe we don't know you all don't know me very well, but my crew, the people of the rebellion know me, you guys could go deck to deck, and we'll talk to all of them and convince the ones that are a part of the rebellion that I am me.
Very well. Which ones are loyal to you?
Giuseppe gets up, walks past the group, and stands up on the deck on a barrel and looks at everyone on deck right now. He can see 4 people, and he says, it looks like only the 2 in the back. Come on. And he starts walking off.
Oh boy.
He passes the boat, and everyone is in a line behind you. Behind him. The first smuggler you pass, he looks over, the smuggler asks, weren't you up here? How'd you come from that direction? And Giuseppe says, catch up already, and also clean that puke spot over here. And the person goes, wow, okay, and then goes off and gets a bucket. The group continues. Nope. I am changing the size of people.
You're stretching them out.
Stretching them out, just willy-nilly. You guys ascend the stairs to the poop deck, and Giuseppe's walking with a surprising amount of confidence, and walks to the center of the deck, and you guys are just following. One of the smugglers is somebody that you guys pass, and he looks at Giuseppe and says, that guy looks more like Giuseppe than Giuseppe. And everyone stops and turns and looks at that guy, and they say, what? And the guy stops and goes, oh, well, what do you mean? What don't you guys think so too? It's obvious that this guy is the real Giuseppe. And then Katie gets on the other side of this guy and says, how do we know you're not fake? Who are you? I thought you were a scallywagon. And Giuseppe mimics that and says, yeah, I don't remember you in the recent rebellion meetings. The suspected scallywagon says, well, I was a rebel, and then you guys weren't paying enough, so I went off to be a smuggler. And I thought maybe I could upgrade to piracy, but, you take what you can get. Anyways, I'm from a couple years back. Don't you remember me? I'm Tigo. Tigo the underwhelming. I'm really bad at stuff. Don't you remember? I knocked over that entire pile of firewood when we first got assigned together. Anyways, this other Giuseppe, I thought you had changed. You're brutal. You killed a lot of people. Last I remembered, you could barely hold a sword. Look. And then just Tigo grabs a broom and throws it at Giuseppe, and Giuseppe just goes and the broom the first attempt was to catch it, and he hits it, and it starts to come at him, and he just worsens his arms around trying to avoid being hit by the broomstick, and it's just fumbling around and twisting and hitting himself.
That seems more like Giuseppe.
Yeah. The broom is like up in the air for a surprising amount of time. It almost took skill for him to be able to do this. And then Tigo says, yeah, it's amazing that you could juggle, because you're terrible with your hands with anything else. And Tigo looks over to the side and sees that there's three balls, 3 rags, and he goes, okay, watch this. And he ties the rags into tight balls. He throws them to Giuseppe and he says, you better juggle these or I'm going to punch you. And Giuseppe says, well, it's an offer I can't refuse. So he gets tossed a ball and he throws it up in the air, and then Tigo tosses him the other two in sequence, and then Giuseppe is juggling like crazy, and you all are amazed that he can juggle, but he can't catch a broom.
He has selective athleticism. That's what they call it.
So, Gary looks to Frederick after he says that and says, that's a good name. Where'd you learn all this stuff, Frederick?"
I just make shit up as I go along.
Tigo's watching him juggle, and he's clapping a beat, saying "abri ba da ba da ba abri ba da da ba da da ba," and Giuseppe just is bouncing along to the beat, just juggling. And you all are a little more convinced that this Giuseppe is Giuseppe.
Alright, so Frederick addresses the party and goes, alright, guys, this probably is the one. What do you say we go get that other one back up here and figure this out?
Giuseppe drops all the rag balls and says, "I thought that's what we were doing. You guys didn't believe me from the start." And Tigo says, "Yeah, I can't believe you guys." And he says that he's going to join the mutiny party to get rid of fake Giuseppe. He hollers back to the one person cleaning the vomit and says, "We need your help, Vomito." And we're like, "Wow, her name is Vomito?" And he goes, "Yeah, she's a terrible tasted nickname. She chose that name herself." So with newly confirmed real Giuseppe, he marches back towards the back of the ship where he'll somehow find the stairs to go down. You stumble upon two rebellion members, and they look at Giuseppe and go wide-eyed, even though he was like 10 feet away juggling. And they say, "Wow, the real Giuseppe. I can't believe you're back. We knew that guy was a fake. He's a murderous monster."
What are these guys' perceptions?
Incredibly high. They can just look and tell, but they were too scared of the other guy to do anything.
It's insane.
Yep. Full on insane. So they say, "Wow, all right, let's get at it. All right, hey Vomito, we're gonna tag along, but I think that you should stay and guard the deck of the ship." And Vomito is like, "Yeah, fuck yeah." And the other guys whisper, we don't like her. She really likes vomit." So, with somebody to guard the deck, you all make your way below deck to the middle deck. It's dark, it's damp, it smells like rotting food and body odor, and you guys think, wow, how did people stay on this ship for months at a time?
It's gotta be pretty rough living in here.
Giuseppe's like, "Yeah, I don't know why we chose the ship life, but it's gonna have to do." So he starts making his way towards the back to get to the next level. You pass a smuggler crew member, and they say, "Wow, another Giuseppe? You just ran by here covered in vomit. I'm surprised you didn't have Vomito following you, though." And Giuseppe says, "I don't know who you are. I want you to believe that I am the real Giuseppe, and I need your assistance." And he does a little tap dance just to show his patronage to this one member and says, "Join my crew." And she defects to just the middle of our crowd and says, "I am sold."
Yeah,
And
Frank.
we
Frederick.
proceed deeper.
Frederick just says, "Yeah, we've got a job for you. We need you for a job. Are you in?"
And this sailor just goes, absolutely. What's the job?
We're gonna kill God. Just kidding. The
Gar-
fake Giuseppe.
Gary says it might as well be God. Look at how he's leading everybody. So you guys proceed to the back of the ship, trying to find the stairs to go down. When you approach what looks to be the cook of the ship and three sailors at the dinner table. One Giuseppe recognizes one from the rebellion. He decides that the cook and the other two must be from the smugglers' crew. And he looks at our group and he decides that he doesn't even have to bargain anymore. He can just say that he's throwing a mutiny and they can join him or not. And the rebellion person says, "Wow, Giuseppe, you're getting your whip back. It's almost like before you were near that crown. Good job, buddy." And he goes and gives Giuseppe a big hug, and then he falls in line. The smuggling crew members and the cook are just like, "Well, we like just started eating, and we had a card game planned. How long is this gonna take?" And then, for some reason, they're all like, the whole group just started saying, "Yeah, how long is this gonna take?" Tiefling, what do you think? Tieflings are good with time, right?
Well, it's not gonna. You might as well get this done before you eat. It's gonna take 5 minutes or less.
Okay. The cook says, "All right, we're in." And he looks at the other two and says, "If you take one bite, I'm gonna punch you both in your chest and make you spit it out." And he holds up both of his fists. So three more added to the group. You all get in formation, and the cook gets in the back of the group and says, "I think we need a tune." And then Gary yells back, "Not right now." And he is protecting his position as the most musical member of the group. All right, you all descend down the stairs. The whole group packs themselves into the underbelly of the ship. The ceilings are lower here. The dampness is even more present, and the darkness is even worse. The candles on the tables barely light the room. You all crowd around as Giuseppe approaches the center of the ship, casts out towards the four smuggling crew members and the fake Giuseppe that are behind him, that somehow have not paid attention to the whole crowd of people coming in. Giuseppe says "imposter" and says nothing else, and stands on a table and puts his arms on his hips. And he says, "Well, group, tell him. You take care of this." So Frederick, Shelbitha, and Gary and Lily and Katie decide that the job falls on them, since they know Giuseppe needs help from some experienced adventurers. Also, because all of the smugglers and the rebellion people started shuffling and looking side to side, thinking, "I don't want to do anything." So,
Yeah, Frederick will address the fake Giuseppe and go, "Hey man, it's up. You know, who are you? What are you doing? We know you're the fake Giuseppe."
and fake Giuseppe says, "Well, how do you know that the original Giuseppe that you met is not fake? I carved you for you. I carved a skull for you. Frederick, how could you betray me like this?"
You know, the skull was nice and all, but I'm more interested in your story. So let's find out who you are first, and maybe we can talk about this other Giuseppe.
This Giuseppe says, I don't want you to know who I am. I wouldn't choose to be me if I didn't want to be Giuseppe, so I am Giuseppe.
And
Giuseppe. Look, I do the Giuseppe thing. Giuseppe.
Frederick tries to address the party without the fake Giuseppe here, and he goes, I don't think he's gonna tell us anything. What should we do with him? Gary, any ideas?
Gary says that he'd be interested to see what kind of transformation ability this guy stemmed this power from. And he says that I think we should try to capture it. Katie says that it looks like all the people around him have carvings around their neck. I think they've bought him, so they're his protection. So the four in front of Giuseppe, fake Giuseppe, spread out and say, "You're going to capture him over our conscious bodies." And you all note that they said unconscious. The one on the very right says, "And we mean unconscious. Don't kill us, okay?" As he's looking at the number of people and thinking rationally.
Well,
you notice that none of these are rebellion people, and they're all smuggler crew members, and they just you forgive them for being ignorant of not real Giuseppe. We never rolled for initiative. I'm just gonna say Frederick has it. First move.
okay. Can I offer the fake Giuseppe's crew the option to walk out instead of getting pummeled?
You can. And two of them automatically say, "Yeah, that sounds good." And they kind of make their way past Gary and say, "Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me." And then they go and sit down in the back.
Excellent.
The other two look to the Giuseppe and ask for a sweeter deal. Hi. Okay, you want to turn the fan on?
73.
Yeah. Fake Giuseppe looks to these two and says, "If you can beat all these people, then you now own the ship." So they look at you and they think it's worth it to try. This ship is huge. We could live on here and kick everybody off. So they advance on you, and they look like they want to brawl. They have just like daggers, and they start coming towards you. Shelbatha is the closest.
Shelbatha is gonna pull out her axe and just gonna go for a swing at the nearest crew member's head.
Okay, will you roll the hit?
Mm-hmm. Wow, got a 25.
Oh my god. Alright, roll for damage.
Did a 14.
Alright, you knock down quite a bit of health. You hit him in their arm and bury the axe deep. The raw carnage that is scares the other attacker into stunned, just being frozen. And that attacker is closest to Lily. Lily, you are now in front of an enemy that is not hurt and is stunned. What would you like to do? You just want to punch him?
Wait, what?
You are in front of an enemy, and like there's two people in front of us. One just got a really nasty blow from Shelbatha, and the other guy is so scared by seeing that blow that he's frozen. So you can attack him to advantage. You could do...
Yeah. Full attack? Wait. Wait, where am I and where are the other people? Am I near anyone?
No, this is the only free... Like, the Giuseppe is... Like, the fake Giuseppe is farther away, and he won't be in range to attack you.
Then I'll attack the...
Okay. would you like to do ice knife or produce flame or staff of python, or would you like to just punch him?
Let's try this ice knife again. I'm gonna give it one more shot.
All right, ice knife. Cool. You successfully impaled them with an ice knife. Don't know why it keeps rolling through.
Remember, they have to attack back or something? They have to roll something?
Yes. I'm gonna roll that again, and so it'll tell me. There's a pop-up that's come before.
I can also put it in the chat.
Oh.
But
Oh yeah, there's piercing and cold damage, and then 11 dexterity save. Okay.
So if you hit, yeah, you do the 1d10, and then, yeah. If the target fails the save, then he takes an extra 2d6 cold damage.
Yeah, okay. 8, and then the save. Alright, he does beat the save. So you did 8 damage. He is impaled. Somehow beats the explosion, but he's doing pretty bad. So he collapses to the floor with the knife in him and says, "Oh my god, why would you do this? Oh my god." And he says he surrenders, and he asks if anyone will heal him. Giuseppe throws a bucket at the guy's head, the fake Giuseppe, and says "coward," and then advances on the group. Gary is next, and Gary is going to Gary's going to throw a dagger. And it completely misses. Like it kind of flies by his head, just clatters into the background.
It was a good shot, Gary.
And he goes, "Thanks, buddy." And then he steps aside and says, "All right, Frederick, you're up. Attack that guy."
Frederick looks at real Giuseppe and he goes, "This is your moment to show the crew what you're made of and defeat this devilish imposter."
Giuseppe goes, "I was born for this." And he steps up and stands up taller on the table, and he starts singing, "Please stop being me. Please, oh please." And he just progressively gets louder and louder. And you notice that the fake Giuseppe doesn't have any weapons, just like real Giuseppe. And the fake Giuseppe looks very moved by real Giuseppe's words, and you can see an internal struggle brewing in his face. Okay, team. I'm gonna say it's Katie's turn to act. She's small enough that she could sneak around behind fake Giuseppe and do something. What would we like her to do?
Can we get her to sneak around and like cut his behind his knees or something?
Cut his Achilles?
Yeah.
Alright, she's sneaking behind the boxes. I'm gonna roll for stealth. She does it. It's a high enough roll. I'm gonna say 17 is good enough for this guy.
Nice.
Because he's distracted by real Giuseppe's song and begging. So Catherine the Great crawls behind the barrels. None of you are even aware to what she's doing, and she takes her dagger and cuts the guy in his Achilles, and he falls to the ground. I said Achilles. He cuts the Achilles of the guy.
Yeah.
Both of them. Just one slash, and she successfully incapacitates Big Giuseppe.
Sweet. That's what you get, fake Giuseppe. But is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive, and he's screaming and grabbing his legs. Real Giuseppe is still singing, and he looks at you all and continues the verse and says, and he just holds up a 3, and then he continues to sing for what seems to be 3 more verses, while other Giuseppe screams. And the 2 people that tried to guard him are fighting for their life with wounds that they did not think would happen. Because you don't fuck with real adventurers.
Yeah, Frederick makes sure everybody hears him, and he says, I don't think those guys are worth saving. They had their chance to join our crew, and they refuse. And then he looks at fake Giuseppe, and he goes, now I'm going to give you one last chance. Tell us your story, or you're probably going to die here.
Fake Giuseppe says, I have no story to tell. The story is this. My story was nothing until I put on his face. I am nothing. I will be nothing. Will be nothing forever. You're more than I could ever be. I would steal a face of a being more magical if I could, but I've used all the face stealing ability I've had.
That's unfortunate. That could have been
swap
useful.
faces for years, and now I'm stuck as this useless man who had a sliver of power for 15 minutes. My 15 minutes of fame. And he's belting this all out in his scream, just grabbing his legs and saying that he is nothing, but he wants to be something, and he thought he could take control. The real Giuseppe seems to understand this and says, I get it. I'm pretty awesome. After all, what a kick-ass name Giuseppe is. Giuseppe is the best. Fake Giuseppe, would you like to be my protege? I could put you in a wheelchair. We can also just tie you to the mast of the ship, and you can be a lookout. And fake Giuseppe says, you would trust me after all of this? After I took over your crew and left you on a beach knocked out? And you all remember that real Giuseppe is kind of a crazy person too.
And Frederick goes to the real Giuseppe and he quietly whispers, we could also turn him into the Baron. Hopefully make the Baron think that it's the real Giuseppe. Maybe they'll hold a public execution and we can take the sorcerer out at the execution.
Giuseppe looks at Frederick and says, wow, what an idea. That's what we're doing. Put him in the brig. And he motions for the 2 defectors to be gathered up with the fake Giuseppe. And the rest of the group piles in around Giuseppe, and Frederick makes the suggestion that we go to the top deck, to the captain's quarters, and open up all the casks of rum that they have and start planning this invasion. You get a cheer from the men and women of your crew, and you're whisked off upstairs. You pass Vomito, and she's wringing out the vomit into vials, and you ask her what the fuck, and Shelbatha pushes Vomito over and says, "You're really gross, man." all while wearing a kitty cat mask.
That was kind of harsh,
And then Giuseppe says, no, she deserves it.